My next guest was on our show about 4 months ago when we first launched our Help Me Tamron series. Audrey Yamamoto lost her husband Brian in a tragic car accident just a few weeks shy of their 1-year anniversary. It had been 2.5 years since her husband's death, and Audrey wanted to find love again, but struggled to navigate the dating scene as a young widow. So I enlisted the help of relationship expert Rachel D'Alto to weigh in. Here's a recap of Audrey's touching story and what her journey has been like since.
Brian and I met in July of 2013. We got married on July 12th, 2018, and it was the best day of my life. But 3 weeks before our 1-year anniversary, my worst nightmare happened. That morning, Brian was heading up to the mountains to meet with my dad and my uncle for a fishing trip. Brian swerved to avoid an animal, and he wasn't wearing a seatbelt, and he died on scene. I lost my best friend, my soulmate, and I became a widow at 26. I really want to find love again, but I need help with navigating the dating scene as a young widow.
It can be really terrifying to expose your heart again when you've gone through a heartbreak like that. So I think the really most important thing is to give yourself permission and the grace to take a minute and to process everything that you've gone through and to validate all of those things and then say, okay, what's that next step?
Being on the Tamron Hall show has really helped me with my process of grief. Through my coaching sessions with Rachel, I realized that Brian's death doesn't define me, and I am more than just a widow. I no longer feel as compelled to bring up Brian on the first date as I did before. The trauma of his death doesn't have a tight grip on me. Brian gave me the gift of knowing what it was like to love and how to be loved, and I look forward to sharing that with someone in the near future.
Joining me via Skype from Fort Collins, Colorado is Audrey Yamamoto. Also joining us from Brielle, New Jersey, relationship expert Rachel D'Alto. Thank you so much for joining us. Audrey, thank you. I can't tell you how many people wrote me or friends and family members who said they were so touched by your story. And the number of people who saw themselves, I was stunned by how many young widows reached out saying that you were their life. You resonated with them. How does it feel to come back on?
It feels absolutely wonderful, and I'm absolutely so blessed to have shared Brian and I's story and to, not in a way, but like represent the young widows out there that are also struggling, like widows and widowers, into finding someone that is willing to accept them for 150% of who they are, including their husband or their wife, boyfriend, girlfriend.
You know, it was a bold move to come on, and then when my team told me you'd agreed to come back, I thought, okay, this is amazing, because you came on, and I said, she's never going to give us an update, and then they said, she's back. What has given you the confidence to share not only the journey to deal with Brian's loss, but also the part of you that still is looking for love, and you deserve that?
Oh my gosh, thank you so, so much. And what really did bring me back was the amount of, unfortunately, just ridiculous and awful stories of the dating that I have experienced. And I can be like, yo, widows, maybe you shouldn't do this, or maybe you should hold off on, maybe, just being that disclaimer of oh yeah, come with the side of anxiety and depression, from losing my significant other. And so I felt like I definitely wanted to tell other widows and widowers out there that it's okay to mess up. It's okay, because I'm unfortunately experiencing it right now. So,
well, Rachel, what's interesting also about Audrey's story is that for many people, they can even insert divorce here because they say divorce is like someone died, because you do lose this person, not obviously in the same heartbreaking way, but there's someone who's no longer in your day-to-day life, and how do you move forward from that? And part of your advice, Rachel, to Audrey was, listen, this is not about forgetting Brian. This is not about pretending he did not exist and he does not exist in your heart. It's balancing that and moving forward. How do you think she's doing?
Audrey's awesome. It was such a pleasure to work with her and to walk her through this journey. It's not easy, and you hit the nail on the head. It's embracing all the elements of her personality, all the elements of her life and her story. And Brian's a part of that. He'll never not be a part of that. And so it's really figuring out how to do the dance a little bit differently.
Well, listen, with that beautiful smile that she has, I would imagine that people want to get to know her and her story. You just radiate joy, Audrey. And coming up, Audrey's father will join us. He'll share the significant changes that he's witnessed in his daughter's life since she first appeared on our show. That's next. Welcome back, TAM fan. We are back with Audrey Yamamoto and relationship expert Rachel D'Alto. Audrey appeared on our show 4 months ago when we first launched our Help Me Tamron series. She opened up about struggling to navigate the dating scene after losing her husband 2.5 years ago in a tragic accident. Also joining us is Audrey's father, Alan. Alan, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you. And I want to take the opportunity on behalf of my wife and I, and also Audrey, to say thank you for giving us the opportunity, especially Audrey, for telling her story and her journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Rachel, before I get an update from Audrey on how things stand, I would love to know how her sessions went, because part of the show is that we gave Audrey complimentary time with you to navigate her new life, if you will. And one of the things you helped her with was her dating profile. What did you see needed to be changed?
One of the biggest things with Audrey's profile is I wanted to bring the fun out because she is such a fun human being. She's got an amazing personality. So I wanted to bring that out as the forefront of it and just really help her identify who she's looking for and allow Brian to be a part of it, but not make it the center of the profile. And so that was one of the big things that we really shifted, is just showing more of who she is, which is such a benefit.
Alan, how do you describe the change in Audrey, especially after saying out loud, listen, I don't want to forget Brian, but I'm young and I want to move on?
There's been some significant changes in Audrey ever since she's been on her show. Your gift to her, having Rachel work with Audrey, has been very significant because, as you know, Audrey's had a track record of tough experiences working with counselors. And so immediately what we saw was an open-mindedness of Audrey to be willing to work with Rachel, to trust her, to open herself to suggestions and recommendations as to how to, what the next step would be to move forward.
How do you feel, Audrey? I know that, you know, people would love nothing more than to have you come on and flash a ring and say, look, I've got engaged again, but this is real life, and that's why we love our show. Things take time, and you have to take small steps to get to the full run. How do you feel right now?
You know, when Brian passed, I just kept saying to myself in my head, one day at a time, one day at a time. Like, it'll be fine in the end, but we can move forward knowing that he is on my side and our significant others are on our side. And so, pretty much knowing that he was going to be there, I knew that I could take these steps forward. And so knowing that with Rachel's help, it was just phenomenal because my profile just completely changed to more of myself. And instead of saying like car accident widow, she made the wonderful suggestion of saying, hey, you're a member of the Hot Young Widows Club. Oh, and that light bulb just lit up. And I'm like, that's brilliant. Yeah. That's absolutely brilliant. And so I was like, you know, maybe I should say World's Funniest Widow of 2019. There's no such thing as that award. But
you know, listen, I know people at home are saying, wait a minute, they're laughing about this, but what Rachel said was bring the fun, right? Sometimes you got to look around your life and say, you know what, I'm going to keep laughing because I don't want to fall anymore. And I applaud you for it. Alan, I love you. I cannot say any more about your daughter that you don't already know. So thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck. We'll keep in contact, and we can't wait to see what's next.